The battlefield was silent, except for the soft hum of dying machines. Smoke covered the sky, blocking the light of the sun. Bodies of both humans and aliens lay scattered across the land. Weapons were broken, tanks burned, and ships were nothing. More than wreckage, the war between humans and the alien species called the Variks had turned this place into a graveyard. Sergeant Cole, a human soldier, walked carefully through the ruins. His uniform was torn, and his face was covered with dirt and sweat. He had survived the battle, but he knew that others were still out there. Maybe enemies, maybe survivors. He held his rifle tight, every sound making him alert. Then, in the middle of this silence, he heard something strange, a faint sound, almost like a cry. At first, he thought it was just his mind playing tricks, but then he heard it again, a weak, trembling cry. It wasn't the sound of a grown soldier. It was softer, like a child's voice. Cole followed the sound. Stepping over broken metal and fallen bodies, the crying led him to a crushed alien transport. Ship. One side of the ship was ripped open like a can of metal inside. Among the wreckage, he saw her. It was an alien girl, her skin violet like the evening sky. She was small, maybe the size of a human teenager. Her silver hair was messy, her body covered in cuts and bruises. She was trapped under a piece of metal, too weak to move. Her large, glowing eyes looked up at Cole, not with hate, but with fear and sadness. Cole raised his rifle, ready to shoot. His orders were clear: kill any remaining enemies, but something made him stop. This wasn't a soldier. This was a scared, wounded girl who was crying for help. She didn't even try to attack. She just stared, waiting for death or mercy. For a moment, Cole stood frozen. His mind told him to follow orders, but his heart whispered something else. He had seen enough death. Enough blood? Could he really kill someone who was already defeated? Slowly, he lowered his rifle. He stepped closer. Pushing the metal off her fragile body, she winced but didn't resist. Cole knelt beside her, his voice soft. "Can you understand me?" he asked. She didn't answer, but her eyes stayed on him. She was too weak to speak, but she understood he wasn't going to kill her. Cole looked around. No backup, no commanding officers. It was just him and her. If he left her here, she would die. If he took her, he would break every rule of the military. Still, he couldn't walk away. There was something about her eyes, her loneliness, that touched a part of him he thought was dead. Carefully, he lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten for days. She didn't struggle, didn't scream. She just rested her head on his shoulder, as if she knew he was her only chance. Cole carried her through the wreckage. Every step was slow, his eyes watching for enemies. All he found was silence and more death. He reached his small, hidden shelter, a place where he had kept supplies. There, he laid her on a makeshift bed and gave her water. She drank it slowly, her eyes never leaving his face. "Guess I'll have to call you something," Cole muttered. "You don't have a name I can speak." After a moment, he said, "Lyra. I'll call you Lyra." She blinked, then nodded slightly. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As the night fell, Cole sat beside her. He cleaned her wounds with what little medical supplies he had. Every time she winced in pain, he apologized softly. He didn't know why he cared so much. Maybe because she looked like someone who had never known kindness. Outside, the war was still burning. Other worlds, but in that quiet shelter, a strange connection had begun. A human soldier and an alien girl to enemies. Now linked by fate, Cole didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't abandon her. Not now, not ever, asterisk. Lyra woke up in the dim light of the shelter. The pain in her body was sharp, but the warmth around her was strange. She had expected to die on that battlefield. But now, a human was caring for her. She watched him moving around, making fire, preparing food. His face was hard, like stone, but his hands were gentle when he looked at her wounds. Cole noticed her eyes watching him. "You're awake?" he said softly. She didn't respond with words, only a small nod. She didn't understand his language completely, but his tone was kind. It was different from the way other humans had spoken to her people. Cole sat down near her. I don't know if you understand me, but I need you to eat. He passed her a small packet of human rations. Lyra stared at it, unsure. With patience, Cole opened it and took a bite himself. Then offered it again, slowly, with shaking hands. She accepted and ate. Her body needed it. And the taste didn't matter. For days, Cole stayed with her. He kept talking even if she didn't reply. He called her Lyra, and she grew to understand that was now her name. Every day he taught her small words: water, food, safe. She repeated them slowly, her voice weak but determined. Cole was impressed by how quickly she was learning. She wasn't just some scared alien girl. She was smart, was curious. And watching everything, he also noticed something else. Sometimes, when Lyra touched objects, small sparks of energy flickered around her fingers. It was faint, but it was there. She didn't seem to notice, or maybe she was hiding it one night. While Cole was tending the fire, he asked quietly, "What are you, Lyra? Why did your people leave you?" Lyra didn't understand the words, but the sadness in his voice made her sit closer. She reached out, placing a hand on his arm. A soft glow appeared where she touched. Cole froze, feeling warmth. Not from the fire, but from her energy. She pulled back, scared. "Sorry," she whispered in broken words. Cole shook his head. "It's all right." He smiled. "You're special, aren't you?" Lyra looked down, ashamed. She tried to speak, using the words she learned different. "Bad," she said slowly. Cole frowned. "Who told you that?" She pointed up, as if to the stars. "My people," she said sadly. "Different. Number." "Good," Cole sighed deeply. It made sense now. She wasn't just abandoned because she was weak. She was abandoned because she was different. Maybe too powerful or too strange for her own people. It reminded Cole of the war, how humans feared anything they couldn't control. "You're not bad, Lyra," Cole said firmly. "You're just different, and that's not a crime." She looked at him, confused, but there was hope in her eyes. No one had ever said that to her before. In the following days, Lyra tried to control her energy. She showed Cole how her hands could glow, how she could lift small rocks without touching them, but every time she tried too hard, she got scared and stopped. Cole encouraged her. "Don't be afraid of who you are," he said. "We'll figure this out together." Their bond grew stronger. They shared laughs when she mispronounced human words. They sat in silence when the pain of the past returned, for the first time. In her life, Lyra wasn't alone. And for Cole, after losing so many comrades, he found someone worth protecting. But outside their small world, danger was growing. Cole's former unit had noticed his disappearance. Scouts had seen a human traveling with an alien girl. Whispers spread Cole had betrayed his duty by protecting an enemy. Both humans and Variks wanted them dead. They couldn't allow a human soldier and an alien girl with unknown powers to survive. An order was given: hunt them down, unaware of the storm coming. Lyra sat by the fire. She looked up at Cole and whispered, "Family." Cole smiled. "Yeah," he said, "family, but peace would not last. Their bond was strong, but the world was cruel. Soon their greatest test was about to begin. Enemies were closing in, and both of them would have to fight for their survival, together or not at all." The cold wind howled through the dead forest where Cole had hidden his shelter. The quiet peace between him and Lyra was fading fast. Something was wrong. The air felt heavier, and the night seemed darker. Cole's instincts, sharpened by years of war, told him danger was near, far from their shelter. A human scout squad moved silently. Their mission was clear: find Sergeant Cole and the alien girl he protected. Orders from command, the leader whispered to his team. "He's a traitor, and the alien's a threat. Shoot on sight." But it wasn't just the humans. Unknown to them, the Variks had also learned of Lyra's survival. They sent their own hunters, deadly assassins bred to kill their own kind if necessary. They couldn't let the secret of Lyra's powers fall into enemy hands. Back at the shelter, Lyra sat by the fire, her hands glowing faintly as she practiced her energy control. Cole watched quietly. "You're getting better," he said.
Lyra smiled softly. Not.
Afraid, she whispered. Cole nodded. Good, because we might need that power soon. That night, Cole set up traps around their hideout. Wires connected to explosives, alarm bells hidden under leaves. He had learned to survive in enemy territory. But this time, he wasn't just protecting himself. He was protecting Lyra. Hours later, while the moon hung high, the first trap was triggered. A loud bang echoed through the trees. Cole grabbed his rifle instantly. Stay down, Lyra, he ordered. Lyra's heart raced, but she obeyed. Hiding behind a metal crate, the humans arrived first. Guns drawn, eyes sharp, they surrounded the shelter, their flashlights cutting through. The darkness, Cole, their leader shouted. Surrender the alien, and we might let you live. Cole stepped out, gun raised. She's just a girl, he shouted back. She's not a threat. But the soldiers didn't care. Command says otherwise, Cole. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Then, shadows moved behind the soldiers, silent, fast, and deadly. The Varix assassins had arrived. They didn't warn or speak. They attacked, cutting down to human soldiers in an instant. Panic spread, humans shooting wildly, not knowing who the real enemy was. Cole used the chaos to grab Lyra. We're leaving now, he said, pulling her through a secret tunnel he had prepared. Lyra followed. But she could hear the screams behind them. The humans and Varix were killing each other. Both sides still wanted them dead. As they ran, Lyra stumbled, her energy flickering around her hands. I can help, she cried. No. Cole snapped. Not yet. You're not ready. We run or we die. They emerged from the tunnel into the open forest, the cold air biting at their skin. Cole kept them moving. But he was growing tired. His body ached, his mind racing. He had to find a new place to hide. But where? Behind them, the Varix hunters moved like ghosts, tracking their energy signatures. One assassin caught up. Leaping from the trees, blade drawn, Cole turned just in time to block it with his rifle. The weapon broke under the force, sending him to the ground. Lyra screamed, her eyes glowing bright. Without thinking, her powers erupted, blasting the assassin with a wave of energy. The creature was thrown back, crashing into the trees. Lyra stood shaking, terrified of her own strength. I did it, she whispered, but Cole wasn't smiling. More assassins were coming, their eyes glowing with deadly hunger. Cole grabbed a metal rod, ready to fight with bare hands if he had to, but Lyra stepped forward, her hands sparking with energy. No more running, she said, her voice steady. I fight. Cole stared at her, surprised by the courage in her voice. She was no longer the scared girl he had rescued. She was becoming something more, a warrior. Together, they stood back to back, man and alien, enemies by birth, family by choice. As the assassins surrounded them, Cole whispered, let's show them what happens when you push the wrong people. And under the cold alien moon, the battle began. But this time, Lyra wasn't alone. She had a protector, a teacher, and a friend, and she was ready to fight. Dawn broke over. The shattered forest, the light revealed the wreckage of the midnight battle. Several Varix assassins lay dead, their bodies broken by Lyra's awakening power. Cole stood injured, his shoulder bleeding from a deep cut. Lyra's hands trembled, not from fear, but from the energy she barely controlled. They had survived the night, but the danger wasn't over. Cole knew they couldn't keep running forever. They needed help, or they'd both die out here against his better judgment. He activated his old emergency beacon, a signal only trusted human allies would recognize. Hours passed. The cold wind cutting through their shelter of branches. Lyra sat beside Cole, trying to mend his wound using the little first aid knowledge she had. Her energy flared softly, closing some of the deeper cuts. You learn fast. Cole chuckled weakly. Lyra smiled because, teacher good, she whispered. Her language improving slowly by midday. Help arrived door, so Cole thought. A squad of human soldiers landed in a dropship, wearing familiar insignias. Their leader, Captain Grayson, was someone Cole had served with before. Grayson approached with a cold smile. Sergeant Cole. Thought you were dead, he said. We came to extract you? Cole stood cautiously. Just me? Or both of us? Grayson's eyes flicked to Lyra. Orders are clear, Cole. The alien comes in alive if possible. The way he said it sent chills down Cole's spine. Lyra stepped closer to Cole, sensing the danger in the air. Safe? She whispered. Cole didn't answer. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. Grayson raised his hand, and soldiers surrounded them. Weapons pointed. Don't make this difficult, Cole. We're taking her. Whether you like it or not, Cole's heart sank. This wasn't a rescue. It was a trap. His own people had betrayed him. Can't trust them, Cole whispered to Lyra. They'll kill you, dissect you. Lyra's eyes widened, her body glowing faintly, fear and power mixing. Together? Grayson smirked. Stand down, Sergeant. You're a soldier, remember? Follow orders. But Cole shook his head. Not anymore, he said, raising his weapon. I protect her, no matter what. Without warning, Grayson gave the command to fire. Bullets and energy blasts filled the air. Cole pushed Lyra behind. Cover, returning fire with deadly precision. But he was outnumbered, wounded and growing weaker. Lyra peeked out, watching the humans attack. She felt anger deep and burning. Why did they hate her so much? Why did both sides want her dead? Tears filled her eyes, but this time she didn't feel weak. She felt something rise inside her. The energy that always scared her now felt alive, powerful, dangerous, as Cole fell back, bleeding from another. Hit, he whispered. Run, Lyra. Please, but she shook her head. No, she said, voice shaking but firm. No more running. She stood tall, her body glowing brighter than ever before. The soldiers froze, staring at her transformation. Grayson shouted, take her down. But it was too late. Lyra raised her hands, and a wave of energy burst from her. The ground cracked, trees shattered, and the air itself seemed to hum. Soldiers were thrown back. Screaming as their weapons failed, Grayson tried to shoot, but his rifle melted in his hands. Cole watched in awe. Hey, this wasn't the scared girl he had saved. This was something else, someone powerful. Lyra stepped forward, eyes glowing like twin suns. You leave us alone? She shouted. Her words were broken but clear. Grayson tried to retreat. But Lyra's energy pushed him and his squad back, forcing them to flee. When it was over, Lyra collapsed to her knees. Exhausted, Cole crawled to her, his face pale from blood loss. You saved us, he whispered. Lyra looked at him, tears falling. No family, no people. But you stay, she said softly. Cole smiled weakly. Always, but deep inside. He knew this was just the beginning. If humans and Variks both wanted Lyra, they'd send bigger forces, smarter hunters. They couldn't run anymore. They had to fight back. Lyra wiped her tears, her mind clear. She had power. She had a purpose, and she had Cole. Together, they would stand, no matter who came for them next. The forest was silent again, but this time, 'twasn't peace, it was the eye of the storm. Lyra sat beside Cole, watching over him as he drifted in and out of sleep. His injuries were deep, the blood had stopped, but his strength was fading. She could feel his life slipping slowly, and fear gripped her heart. She looked at her hands. Still glowing faintly with energy, she remembered the power she had unleashed. She had pushed it further than ever before, but it was wild, uncontrolled. And now Cole was dying. I have to help, she whispered to herself. But how? Then she remembered the stories of her people, the Variks. Long ago, the elders spoke of a temple hidden deep in the wild lands, a place of ancient knowledge, built by the first of her kind. It was said that those born with energy abilities could awaken their true power there. Lyra had never believed it. But now, she had no choice. She wrapped Cole's wounds as best as she could. Whispering, I come back, I save you. She left him safely hidden, covering the shelter with branches and leaves. Then she ran through forests, across rivers.
Ow.
Following the pull in her mind, she didn't know where she was going, but her heart guided her. Time was running out after hours of travel. Lyra stood before a massive stone door covered in alien carvings. It was half buried in the ground, vines wrapping around its surface. She stepped forward, touching the symbols. Suddenly, the carvings lit up, glowing with the same energy inside her. The door slowly opened with a deep rumble. Inside was a vast chamber, walls covered in glowing symbols. At the center stood a crystal pillar, humming with power. Lyra approached carefully. As she touched the pillar, visions flooded her mind. She saw her ancestors, beings of energy, creating the temple as a place of learning and awakening. She saw visions of Varric's leaders who feared those with her gift. Its energy wielders couldn't be controlled. That was why they abandoned her. That was why she was left to die. Tears fell from Lyra's eyes. All her life, she thought she was weak, broken, a mistake. But the truth was the opposite. She was powerful, too powerful for them to accept. The crystal pulsed, and a voice echoed. In her mind, child of energy, you must choose. Let your fear consume you, or awaken and take control. Lyra stood tall, wiping her tears. I choose to awaken, she said firmly. Light surrounded her, energy pouring into her body. She felt the power shaping, her mind clearing. She saw every thread of energy around her trees, rocks, air, even life itself. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was in control when she opened her eyes. They glowed brighter than ever before. She raised her hands, and the energy obeyed her command. She could shape it, control it, bend it to protect or to destroy. Lyra had awakened. Without wasting time, she ran back to Cole when she returned. Were pale, barely breathing. No. No, stay, Cole, she cried. She placed her hands on his chest, channeling the energy carefully. This time, she wasn't scared of losing control. The energy flowed gently, knitting his wounds, repairing the damage. Cole stirred, groaning weakly. Lyra smiled with relief. Wake up, she whispered. Cole's eyes slowly opened. He looked up at her, his voice hoarse. Lyra? I'm here, she said, tears in her eyes but a proud smile on her face. I save you, I strong now, Cole chuckled faintly. Told you. You had it in you. She helped him sit up. Cole looked at her, truly seeing her now, not as a scared girl, but as a warrior. What happened to you? He asked. Lyra looked at her hands, energy swirling softly. I awaken, she said, no more afraid, no more running. We fight, we win. Cole smiled proudly. That's my girl, he said. But Lyra shook her head playfully. No. Family. She corrected, your family. Their bond was stronger than ever. But Lyra knew awakening her power had a cost. The energy pulse from the temple had surely been detected. Enemies would come stronger and deadlier. But this time, Lyra wasn't helpless. She was ready, with Cole by her side. They would face whatever came next, together, as family. Asterisk, the sky was dark with storm clouds, as if the world itself sensed what was coming. Cole stood with Lyra at the edge of the forest. Watching the horizon, in the distance, lights flickered, ships descending. Soldiers preparing, the humans and the Varrics had united for one cause, to capture or kill Lyra. They couldn't allow her power to exist. She was too dangerous, too. Unknown to them, she was a threat. Not a life worth saving. Cole loaded his last rifle. The barrel scarred from too many battles. He glanced at Lyra, her silver hair flowing like silk, her eyes glowing with controlled energy. She wasn't the same girl he had carried out of that wreckage. She was something far more, a warrior reborn. Still sure about this? Cole asked, half smiling. Lyra nodded without hesitation. Together, she said, her voice steady. Family, they set their traps, explosives hidden beneath leaves. Energy snares powered by Lyra's touch. Every corner of the ruined valley was prepared. Cole knew it wouldn't stop the enemy, but it would slow them down. As night fell, the ground rumbled. Dropships landed and outpoured an army, humans in heavy armor, Varric's hunters with blades, sharper than steel. In their center stood a tall figure, human general known for destroying entire alien colonies. Beside him, a Varric's warlord. Scars covering his body, eyes burning with hatred, they marched forward, confident, after all. Who could stand against an army? But then, the air changed. A pulse of energy rippled through the valley. Lyra stepped forward, light wrapping around her like armor. The soldiers paused, seeing her standing theirs. Maul. But radiant and terrifying, she raised her hands, and the first wave of soldiers was lifted into the air, their weapons disarmed by pure force. Cole opened fire, each shot precise, each target falling, moved with the discipline of a seasoned warrior. Never wasting a bullet, never missing a step, they fought back to back. Human and alien, enemies by nature, partners by choice, Lyra's power danced through the battlefield, creating shields of light, slicing through metal like it was paper. But the enemy kept coming, wave after wave, missiles, plasma blasts, blades. They threw everything at them. Then the warlord charged, roaring. He was massive, twice Lyra's size, his blade glowing with poison. Lyra faced him without flinching. Their weapons clashed energy against steel. The ground shook with each strike, but Lyra's movements were graceful, her control perfect. She wasn't just reacting. She was leading the fight. Cole faced the human general who sneered, "Why protect that alien? She's just another weapon." Cole spat on the ground. "She's not a weapon. She's my family." And then he attacked, using every skill he had learned from a lifetime of war. The battles raged side by side. Lyra finally struck the warlord down, her energy blade piercing through his chest. His eyes widened in shock before the light in them faded. Cole, bloody but unbroken, brought the general to his knees with a shot to the leg. "You lost because you never understood," Cole said coldly. "Sometimes family beats armies." The remaining forces, leaderless and terrified of Lyra's power, retreated. The valley was quiet again, but this time it wasn't because of death. It was because they had one. Lyra stood breathing heavily, her energy dimming but her spirit unshaken. She looked at Cole. "You live," she whispered. Cole chuckled, wiping blood from his brow. "Yeah, thanks to you." She walked to him. Helping him stand, together, they looked at the battlefield. Littered with broken weapons and burning wreckage, it was over. "For now, where we go?" Lyra asked. Cole looked to the horizon. "Wherever we want, we're free." Lyra smiled, feeling something she had never felt before. Not just strength, but belonging. She wasn't alone, and she was no longer afraid of who she was. Together, they walked away from the ruins, a human soldier and an alien girl, bound by something stronger than blood trust, loyalty, and family. And though enemies would come again, they were ready, because now they were legends in the making. The war never truly ended. Across the stars, humans and Variks still fought, still bled, still hated, but in quiet corners of the galaxy, a story began to spread, a tale whispered in fear by soldiers and in awe by civilians. They spoke of a silver-haired alien girl, glowing with a light that could tear ships apart. They spoke of the human soldier, a man with a scarred face and a stubborn heart. Together, they stood against armies, breaking the lines where no one else could. No one knew exactly where they came from, but when people saw them, they saw hope. A warning. Lyra and Cole traveled from one broken world to another. They didn't fight for nations or species anymore, fought for those who had no one left. Villages crushed under war, refugees fleeing from destruction, orphaned children. These were the people they stood for. Everywhere they went, Lyra's reputation grew. To the humans, she was a ghost of vengeance. To the Variks, she was the forgotten flame. To the innocent, she was a savior. Cole, always at her side, became known as the last protector, the man who chose honor over orders. One night, as they sat under a quiet sky, Lyra asked Cole softly, "Why you stay?" "You save me, now can go." Cole smiled, staring at the stars. "I stay because when I found you, I found my purpose," he said. "I spent years killing, following orders, never knowing why, but when I saw you abandoned and crying, I realized this. War didn't need more killers. It needed protectors." Lyra looked down at her glowing hands, the energy humming softly. "I destroy too," she whispered. Cole shook his head. "No, Lyra, you fight. You protect. That's what makes us different." Their legend grew with every world they saved. Rumors spread of a human and an alien, Standing together when no one else would, some said they were immortal, some claimed they were a myth. But those who saw them knew the truth, two souls who refused to let war define them. Years passed, but neither Cole nor Lyra stopped moving. Their bond deepened beyond words. Lyra, once a lonely, abandoned girl, was now a leader, a beacon. Cole, the soldier with nothing left to lose, had found family in the unlikeliest place. Their message became clear wherever they went. Your blood doesn't make your family. Your choices do. Compassion is strength, and no one should ever be left behind on one distant world. As they watched a sunrise together, Lyra asked, "We are story now?" Cole laughed softly. "Yeah, I think we are." Lyra smiled, her eyes bright. "Good story." "The best," Cole replied, "because it's ours, and somewhere. In the dark corners of space, when soldiers whispered around fires, they still spoke of them. The alien girl and the human soldier, enemies by blood, family by choice. A legend that no war could kill, a story that would never die."